A grim castle appears under a red sky filled with lightning and monsters. Deep inside, a flaming boss calls out the party for a showdown. Seiya, the swordsman, draws his blade, already sparking with energy. Stomping the ground, he signals for the brawl to begin. With insane agility, the hero charges in, slashing through several at once, and without a second thought, he rushes straight at the boss. Letting out a fierce cry, he activates a massive attack buff. Across the room, the redhead grins, totally hyped to jump in. It's Kango Jikara, the guide built for pure brute strength. He punches the ground with everything, shattering the entire floor. Suddenly, the monster is about to strange agitation would say, right as a monster is about to strike. Flames consume everything as the boss attacks with no holding back. But then a massive ice barrier pops up to shield the team. Sagiri the mage laughs, seeing how the ice blocked everything. Catching their breath, the warriors thank her for the save. And that's where it gets crazy as Teru appears handing out healing potions. Glancing back, the mage asks if the leader is going for the final blow. The silver-haired kid thanks his team and raises his legendary sword. Facing such overwhelming power, the boss is in total shock. He delivers one precise strike that cuts through the air. Haruto, the squad leader, ends the fight with his ultimate skill. News hits the headlines that the Byakuran Guild defeated the Demon King. Everyone in the streets is celebrating while watching the big screens. It's been 200 years since the gates and one of the 7 lords finally fell. Reporters praise the achievement and jump straight to the live feed. Out on the street, reporter Sato preps to interview the team. Haruto smiles and waves at the crowd going wild with excitement. Right on camera, the news crew showers the team with compliments. The hero says thanks, but the reporter drops the question, "How'd they get so OP?" They exchange a silent glance for a second before answering. With a fake smile, Haruto claims the secret is just training every single day. Seiya and Kongo hold back laughs, whispering about that total lie. The mage and support join the joke, making the act super obvious. And that's where it gets good. Inside, the leader hides a cold smile about their real power source. A dark look reveals something heavy is hidden underneath it all. No one saw that coming, but in a nasty dungeon, 2 kids appear chained up and beaten. That boy is Shin, trapped in such a miserable spot. Next to him is his sister Minori, also stuck with nowhere to go. Then that jerk Haruto walks in with his guild to put them both down. He mocks them, thanking the pair for making his team so overpowered. Without a word, the creep plunges his sword into Shin. The blade tears right through him, leaving the kid helpless. Explaining the rules, taking out normal people or animals gives 0 XP. To level up, you've got to take down actual monsters. But there's a bizarre exception to this. The Immortals. Turns out, Shin has a divine power of infinite regeneration. Thanks to that, he heals up even after taking fatal hits. Hitting the kid, Haruto gains XP and levels up instantly. And that's where it gets crazy. He realizes he's found an infinite farm. The siblings can only watch, unable to fight back or escape. Acting like cowards, the rest of the guild closes in to join the chaos. The redhead starts wailing on the shackled boy non-stop. Every single punch breaks the kid's body without a hint of mercy. Sagiri blasts fire magic straight at the chain girl. She screams in pain as her body forces itself to recover. While the healing takes in, those cowards keep up the relentless pressure. Teru preps some nasty potions while Seiya readies his blade. The jerk forces the girl to swallow a mysterious liquid. Suddenly, Seiya slashes Shin again, stacking even more XP. No one saw that coming. Dozens of level-up notifications flood the screen. Haruto wipes the blood off his blade, saying that was a great workout. The crew laughs it off, exhausted, and starts packing up to leave. Glancing at his laptop, Teru grumbles about missing some key data. Seiya makes a crude comment, suggesting they use the girl. That creep in green stalks toward her with a sinister look in his eyes. Watching the scene, Haruto remarks that this is getting pretty dull. The poor girls stay slumped on the floor, too weak to even shed a tear. And that's where it gets twisted. As Haruto comes up with a new idea, he announces there's one last sick test left to conduct. Walking over to his ally, he rests a hand on the guy's shoulder. His twisted plan is to force the girl to have a child right there in captivity. Teru freezes for a second, but then starts digging the dark scheme. He cheers, thinking it's genius to create life just to far more XP. Asking for the mage's help, she agrees to hypnotize the girl immediately. Sagiri raises her staff and casts a domination spell on her. The spell lands instantly, leaving the girl's body totally defenseless. With no resistance left, the young girl's mind is completely overtaken. Locked in a deep trance, she stops fighting back entirely. Seiya steps forward with a laugh, and Haruto orders them to unchain Shin. The villain gloats, saying it'll be a show watching the brother forced to witness everything. Releasing Shin's chains, he collapses, finally able to move. the cowards move in on his sister in a disgusting display. Watching this nightmare unfold, Shin screams in desperation for them to stop, crawling across the filthy ground. He tries his best to reach her. Reaching out in agony, the kid tries to stop them at any cost, but a spear of light pierces his hand and pins him to the floor. Haruto mops him, saying that holy magic nullifies his healing. Lying in his own blood, the boy swears he'll curse them all. To shut him up, Haruto drives a blade right into his neck. The monster tells him to zip it and watch the whole thing. Stuck by the blade, Shin is completely unable to move. Tears stream down his face while he watches the horror helpless. After the deed, the group decides to leave for a public event. Walking toward the exit, they talk about feeding the monsters. Passing the heavy gate, they check if the boy's seal is holding. The iron door slams shut, locking them both in total darkness. Bleeding in the dark, the boy cries in pain, seeing nothing. Just then, Minori crawls over and grabs the forgotten sword. She pulls the blade from her brother's neck to set him free. And just like that, everything changed. He's in shock as she points the sword at her own chest. Without hesitation, she drives the blade into her chest in pure defiance, hitting the floor in absolute agony right after. Then she pushes the sword even deeper to end it all. All she wants is to reset her body and stop the suffering. Moments later, her body goes limp and the blade drops. With a fading gaze, she begs her brother to finish the job. That's when it hits him. He finally gets her plan. Remembering that the holy magic was blocking the healing. Realizing the spear was pinning his arm, he finds the solution. Now the protagonist tells his sister to cut his arm off. The girl grips the sword tightly, ready to move. In one clean strike, she severs the limb and frees him. Remember that immortals return fully restored upon dying. Crying her eyes out, she asks for forgiveness before going further. But the pain they're both feeling is still through the roof. Determined to fix this, she wields the blade once again. Through tears, she apologizes one more time for what's coming. Minori stabs the sword into his chest to force the healing. The strike hits his heart and a blinding light takes over. And just like that, everything changed. An overwhelming power awakens within him. Instantly, the level up notification pops up on screen. Opening his eyes, feeling refreshed, he sees it worked. Confused, he asks why his level spiked out of nowhere. Looking him dead in the eye, his sister asks if he gets it. She explains that taking each other out isn't for nothing. With eyes burning in hatred, she claims that's their path to vengeance. Stunned by her resolve, our hero finally puts the pieces together. Closing his eyes, he accepts diving into this cycle of revenge. That sheer determination locks them both into a wild focus. Rising from the ground, the kid commits to seeing it through. And just like that, everything changed. The duo starts going at it non-stop. Repeating this over and over, their rage numbs every bit of pain. With every trade, they both rack up massive amounts of levels. Despite bleeding out, he grins as he feels his power surging. She holds her ground too, stacking up crazy amounts of XP. Cycle after cycle, they keep grinding, and their levels skyrocket. Level up notifications won't stop flooding the air. Every single strike brings the pair closer to their freedom. This process repeats dozens of times, filling up the screen. No one saw that coming. Their strength is now completely off the charts. Everything now centers on the plan to take those villains down. That look in his eyes proves no one is gonna stand in his way. Cutting back to the past, we see that Psycho Teru with the crew. Back then, he was just the luggage kid, weak and way too quiet. But even then, you could tell he had something twisted going on. This guy has been running cruel tests on monsters forever. 3 years ago, he was already taking down beasts to study them. Late one night, Haruto shows up and praises his madness. The leader asks if he wants to examine something way bigger. Walking through the guild, he leads the freak to a hidden room. Inside, he asks the group if they want real power. Facing his team, he says the final choice belongs to them. He promises them a level of glory nobody has ever seen. Even knowing how rotten it is, the crew backs the plan. The boss then gets real and asks who's in on this. Grinning like crazy, they all agree to join the scheme. Feeling satisfied, the leader stoops down and opens a trap door. A hidden staircase pops up from beneath the floor. Heading deep down, the group sees prisoners trapped below, and that's where it gets good. Haruto enters the code to unlock the cell. Reaching the gate, he says he'll shield him, the poor guys. The crew walks in, staring at the shadows bound inside. Chained to the floor, the two immortal siblings emerge. Totally shocked, the members ask, "What's the point of this?" Haruto explains calmly, "They're from a rare race." Drawing his blade, he says they're immortals thought to be extinct. And that's where it gets crazy, hun. A sharp strike to the kid's chest. Howling in pain, the boy starts bleeding from the hit. 2 seconds later, the wound closes up instantly. Impressed, the group can't figure out the benefit here. Grabbing his phone, the leader pulls up the level app. The screen reveals the guy has already reached level 50. Stunned by the high number, they all freeze in place. He explains that farming monsters is way too risky. Statting the girl, he shows how to grind XP for free. The panel confirms the level up right as he strikes. Seeing that, Teru starts shaking like he's lost his mind. The guy goes wild with joy, realizing how broken this is. Grabbing the girl, he yells he's always wanted to test bodies. With a scalpel in hand, he asks what the strike feels like. He starts carving into the girl just to see how much she can take. Right then, the psycho feels the system's reward kicking in. A level up notification pops up on his phone. Buzzing with excitement, he notices he leveled up too. Cleaning the blade, he says he loved that test. And just like that, he plots 1,000 cruel tortures to test on her. From afar, the others think the guy's acting pretty unhinged. They don't even care, since they see the victims as mere monsters. Everyone starts beating up the duo to get an easy level up. The boss smirks, seeing he's completely dominated everyone. Meanwhile, a plane lands smoothly at the airport. The guild guys are walking around cocky without Teru. Deep down, the madman runs desperately toward the building, charging down the stairs, laughing, eager to inflict more pain. Throwing the door open, he yells out that he's back. And no one saw that coming. He freezes, seeing the lid taking out his own sister. Falling into a total panic, the guy starts screaming. He demands they stop messing with his prisoner right now. Pure terror hits as he realizes the duo's strategy. Clueless, they have no idea what kind of monster they've created. Teru goes completely blank, staring at the prisoners. And just like that, the duo shows up refreshed and overflowing with power. The system explains that taking down stronger enemies grants way more points. That little detail sent their experience bar through the roof. Treating hits non-stop, they racked up points at an insane speed. Suddenly, their levels spiked through the roof in mere minutes. That extreme suffering turned them into absolute monsters. They gained a massive physical glow-up from all those levels. Our protagonist now shows off a solid muscular frame. Even the girl ended up with a build perfect for combat. He stumbles back, terrified, wondering how they got so OP. Sprinting down the hall, the coward tries to find an exit. Near the bars, the fool notices the pair closing in slowly. Still, he tries to chuckle, claiming this place is his turf. Smashing the casing, he triggers the emergency alarm. The siblings just watch the sirens echo through the facility, and no one saw that coming. A giant fire chimera bursts out to attack. Makoto calmly tells his sister that it's time for payback. The giant beast lets out a roar, spewing fire everywhere. She tries to charge in, but he asks to take this fight himself. Laughing at them, Teru swears there's no way to beat the beast. Standing calm, the kid stares down the giant monster without blinking, watching quietly as the flames rush right toward him. The villain yells from afar that they're just monster food now. And just like that, everything changed. The hero's eyes fill with bloodlust, still mocking them. He claims he'll feed the girl to the creature. Disgust washes over her after hearing that nonsense. Putting his arm out, her brother shields her in an instant. With a deadly glare, he vows to finish that scumbag off. He laughs it off and tells the kid to try his luck against the beast. The creature lunges forward, tearing up the floor in its path. A violent strike with flaming claws hits the spot dead on. Dust fills the air as the beast pins the boy against the wall. And that's where it gets crazy. He dodges death at insane speeds. Set on a counterattack, the boy charges in. Appearing in a blink of an eye, he's behind the villain with a blade. The edge grazes Teru's neck, forcing the coward to retreat. Activating a movement spell, he backs away, muttering in anger. Right in that moment, the guy reaches for his secret ability. Turns out, leveling up unlocks some seriously rare techniques. Teru has the support class but pulls off assassin tricks. His ability opens portals to work blades from anywhere. And that's where it gets good. He launches strikes from every angle. The fire beast spots an opening and lunges from behind. Countless swords pop out of portals, slicing Makoto's armor. To make matters worse, the beast's tail pins him down tight. Dragged into the sky, he takes some massive damage. Next, the monster slams the kid right into the stone floor. Laughing hysterically, the guy mocks him without a break. He shouts that even with a level up, the kid's still trash. His sister watches the whole thing, terrified from her cell. But the hero stands up unfazed, regenerating every scratch. Panicking at the sight, the villain orders the beast to finish him. The creature widens its flaming maw for the final blow. Charging forward, it tries to swallow him in one gulp. The strike lands clean, and the guy starts celebrating the win. Thinking he's won, he claims no one leaves that room alive. And just like that, the beast freezes up completely. Its head explodes, unleashing a thick green mist. With the monster dropping dead, the villain loses his cool. Makoto stands up totally fine, showing off his new power. Trembling in fear, the support takes a few steps back in disbelief, and in a total rage he tries to stab the kid with a knife. Our lead just watches the charge without moving a muscle. Staring at his own hands, the guy notices some strange liquid. That acid starts melting his skin with terrible pain. Screaming in agony, he feels his whole body getting eaten away. The poison skill turns Makoto's blood into acid. Confused about where it came from, the coward drops, howling in pain. Turns out he got this ability after surviving the poison. And that's where it gets crazy. Thrown to the floor, the guy writhes as the acid burns. Slitting his own wrist, Makoto lets the blood drip. He forces the blood into the villain's mouth without mercy. With a brutal punch, he slams the guy's head into the ground. The villain is crushed and starts begging for his life. But the anger for the past suffering keeps growing inside the boy. Our hero shows that nobody ever showed them any pity before. Clenching his fists with everything he's got, he readies the final strike. A massive hit destroys the guy's chest instantly. Barely alive, the dude can't even move anymore. And that's where it gets crazy. Makoto uses healing magic to save the villain. Completely confused, the guy asks why he was just healed. The boy replies that killing him wouldn't be enough, reminding him of when he asked what being sliced open felt like. Drawing the blade, he promises to show him real karma. Outside, the guild heads back to base as night falls. Haruto tells them to call for the healer to celebrate the win. The swordsman heads down to the dungeon searching for his partner. Reaching the spot, he sees the monster dead with blood everywhere. Staring into the cell, the guy completely freezes up. That sight leaves the swordsman genuinely terrified. Traces of destruction cover the room from corner to corner. And man, the support's body was hanging from the ceiling, crushed. Panicking, the warrior screams for his friend in total despair. Naomi Kongo, the red-haired fighter of the group. He's in S rank with the highest brute strength of them all. To the public, he looks like a kind and protective hero. But anyone who actually knows the guy knows how cruel he is. Tons of fans comment that they wish they had a physique like his. Others say that this kind of absurd talent can't even be trained. Kongo warns the rookies that a build like that takes insane training, encouraging the recruits to stay focused and keep grinding. Looking at the giant, the trainees swear they'll give it their all. Comments reveal the guy's already past level 300. But alone, the brute laughs at the real secret behind his power. A year ago, the scumbag was using the immortal kid as a punching bag. Kicking the victim, he just took advantage of that infinite healing. And that's where it gets crazy. He was beating up his own siblings to level up fast. Dragging the girl by her hair, the maniac cackles at the easy points. He tosses the poor girl against the ground without a hint of mercy. Finding the leveling process slow, the coward continues the torture. Suddenly, the fighter gets annoyed that the kid isn't reacting anymore. Lying in a puddle, the boy just stares at his attacker in silence. Enraged by this, the madman vows to make him scream in pain. A flaming punch lands straight into the boy's stomach. Next, he hits the girl's chest without any remorse. Mocking them, the guy starts counting up the broken bones. Scream louder, he demands, raising his burning fist. And just like that, the brutal attack makes the girl let out a cry of despair. Satisfied with the noise, the coward decides to throw 100 more hits. Glaring with malice, he demands they keep entertaining him. Cutting to the present, Seiya enters the academy to report the tragedy. The swordsman mentions Teru, leaving the giant in total shock. Sprinting non-stop, the fighter follows his partner toward the dungeon. Inside that space, the group finds the support's body hanging from the ceiling. Pressed by Haruto, the guy admits the prisoners have escaped. Worried about his reputation, the young man warns that the world can't find out. Stunned, the big guy loses his cool right in front of his friend. He notices the late support's laptop still running on the floor. The screen is displaying the exact recordings from the prison. And just like that, everything changed. The video shows Makoto taking the support down. Watching the footage, the giant sobs with rage and vows to hunt the fugitives. Without a word, Haruto draws his blade near his fallen comrade. Taken aback, his allies try to figure out what he's planning. In one swift motion, the hero severs the head of the hanging support. The body hits the floor and everyone goes completely silent. Grabbing the leader by his collar, the fighter demands some answers. The prodigy replies coldly that there was no saving the guy anymore. Seiya agrees, saying keeping him around would only cause more suffering. Even the mage admits that her healing magic wouldn't have saved him there. Kneeling down, the giant cries, refusing to accept the loss. Punching the stone, the guy vows revenge on whoever did this. Overcome by blind rage, he promises to hunt down the prisoners. Deep down, Haruto thinks his allies' reaction is a total waste of time. And just like that, everything changes. The hero feels a chill and his expression shifts. Noticing the change, the swordsman asks what's going on. Quickly, the leader smiles and pretends there's nothing wrong. Sagiri suggests telling everyone the teammate died a great hero. With a dark look, Haruto orders them to set up a screen for the world. Throughout the night, the two siblings run together through the woods. The girl trips from exhaustion, but her brother catches her just in time. Seeing she can't go any further, the lad tells her to rest. Sitting under the trees, they celebrate being free at last. Staring at the moon, the young girl breaks down in tears after the escape. Tenderly, the brother hugs her and promises to keep her safe. Sobbing hard, the girl finally lets all that trauma out. Curled up there, the youngster falls asleep from sheer fatigue. The boy watches his sister and notices how wiped out she really was. Looking up at the sky, he knows he has to stay alert. Even though he's falling asleep, our guy fights to keep watch. Deep in the woods, shady figures are closing in on them. Sensing the danger, he jolts awake, fully on high alert. Standing tall, he realizes these guys are here for a fight. Heavy hostile intent radiates from the dense branches nearby. Keeping his sister safe, he decides to handle this solo. Moving in total silence, he stalks toward the attackers. Sharp as ever, our guy creeps closer to their position. Spotting a cabin, he watches everything from a tree branch. Seriously concerned, he braces for the clash ahead. And that's where it gets crazy. A mercenary strikes from behind. Pure reflex kicks in, he lands a kick and drops the guy. Landing back on the ground, he sees he's totally surrounded. Locked in, he prepares to trade blows with the squad. The boy demands to know who's sent this group after him. Armed to the teeth, the mercenaries tighten their circle. Whispering to each other, the thugs talk about the bounty. Their boss claims the kid's head is worth a fortune. Suddenly, the mage casts a spell to buff their power. Empowered by magic, the group surges forward to strike. Our brute charges in, swinging a massive glowing staff. That strike lands clean on our guy's head. Thinking it's a wrap, the attacker cheers as the body drops. Instantly healed, the kid locks the guy's neck in a grip. And that's where it gets crazy. The mage is terrified he's standing there without a scratch. Getting back on his feet, he asks if they work for the hunters. Faced with total silence, he reads the group's reaction. Ignoring the silence, he charges forward with blazing speed. Poof! He vanishes and reappears right under their leader. A brutal knee to the gut sends the boss reeling. Every mercenary freezes up, scared stiff by what they're seeing. Pinning the boss down, he warns that any enemy is getting dropped. With a chilling glare, he makes it clear there's zero mercy here. Two mercenaries try to slice him down at once. The blade lands, and it actually clips off our boy's arm. Thinking they've won, the attacker lets out a mocking laugh. Feeling no pain, the kid catches his own arm in midair. Using the limb as a weapon, he wipes the floor with a rival. Midair, he grabs the face of another mercenary. And just like that, everything changed. That cold stare proves the fight is over. He slams the guy's face into the ground and finishes it for good. With only the mage left, the kid charges forward without flinching. Terrified, the woman preps a lightning spell. A massive bolt of electricity streaks straight toward him. And that's where it gets crazy. The strike lands dead on, creating a huge blast. She grins, convinced she's finished him off for good. But he just walks out of the smoke without a single scratch. Panic setting in, she aims for staff again, trying everything she's got. Another wild explosion happens, covering the whole area in dust. Looking way too calm, the youth pushes through the vapor completely intact. Breathing in the toxic air, the villain starts choking and goes down. Our guy gets right up close as she loses all her strength. With that signature cold stare, he tells her no one's leaving there alive. Minutes pass and he puts on the boss's gear before leaving them behind. Adjusting the hood, he calls the closed payment for the trouble. He grabs the heavy backpack and rushes back to where his sister is hiding. The girl wakes up just then, asking if she ruined his sleep. Keeping things chill, he lies and says he earned all the supplies. Overjoyed, she beams at him, happy to see that he's all right. He even shows her all the food and clothes he managed to bring back. She goes off to change while he handles packing up their stuff. With fresh gear on, the pair gets ready to hit the road. Deep into the night, they start trekking through the woods. Reaching the hilltop, they gaze up at the moon. Makoto suggests a quick break by the river to catch their breath. Inside a nearby cave, they spark a fire to warm up. His sister flips out when she spots all the candy he grabbed. Super grateful, she happily munches away next to the flames. He takes a moment to double-check everything he managed to swipe. Realizing the guys only had basic emergency supplies, staring at the city in the distance, he decides to hunt for intel. Hood pulled up, the hero heads toward the urban area. His little sister begs him to be extra careful out there. Walking through the crowded center, he keeps his disguise tight. Stunned by the scale, he keeps his eyes on the towering buildings. Leaving the market, he notices how everything is way too pricey. but at least he's got enough supplies to keep her fed. Sitting on a park bench, he maps out his next move. That guild is filled with rotten people who need to go down. To take them out, he's got to find a weak spot. And just like that, everything changed. A giant airship appears in the sky. The big screen drops the news the support hunter didn't make it. They fake some tears, blaming the whole thing on the two siblings. Crowds in the street get heated, demanding justice right now. Mugshots of the siblings are plastered everywhere you look. Seeing through the scheme, he finally gets why they targeted him. And that's where it gets crazy. The leader is fake crying, promising to hunt the kid down. People are going wild, cheering for the siblings to get taken out. Shouting in anger, the whole mob wants the brothers' heads. It's all just theater to cover up the guild's dirty tracks. Glaring at the screen, he decides to face them head-on. Blood boiling, he vows to take that fake down for good. Days later, the guild headquarters is gleaming under the sun. Inside the meeting, the giant slams the table in a fit of rage. Stressed out, he pins the informant to the wall, demanding answers. The mage warns that the duo might have gotten way too strong. Then the swordsman panics, worried they'll leak all their secrets. Haruto chills the room, claiming the kid's reputation is already trash. With a 500 million bounty, no one's gonna listen to them. The muscle-bound guy loses it at the thought of dropping this vendetta. Roaring with fury, he swears he'll never forgive those two. He vows to make the pair pay a heavy price. But the mage tells him to pipe down since the support was mid. Triggered, the giant launches a punch right at her. Mana chains lock his arm in place immediately. She doesn't even blink, claiming those kids aren't even a threat. Haruto claps, laughing, to stop the group's bickering. Recalling the warning written in blood, he knows the protagonist is coming back. That scumbag is dead sure the pair will fall for the trap. No one saw that coming. After all, the whole world is hunting them down right now. The beast grumbles loudly but eventually accepts the order. The boss shuts it down to focus on the other lords. Walking out, the brute heads off to rest before the raid. Alone in the hall, he clenches his fist, plotting a total takedown. And just like that, we're back at the protagonist's waterfall. Early in the morning, the girl wakes up happy and says good morning. Beaming, she says she slept like an angel last night. He agrees, but warns that they need to switch hideouts. She's worried someone might recognize their faces. Rummaging through his pack, the lead pulls out an ace. These masks are sick, covering everything without blocking their vision. Sliding his on, he shows her exactly how to secure it. She puts hers on and is stoked about how great it looks. Everything packed, the boy mentions he's already mapped out their path. These gates lead straight into the dungeon dimensions. Normal world laws simply don't apply in those places. Checking the map, he found the perfect dungeon to lay low. He points to the swamp dungeon at the top of the hill. Since the area is super creepy, hardly anyone dares to go there. Near the top, they find the entrance glowing between the rocks. Both of them stare at that massive portal, ready for action. Makoto promises her he'll never let go of her hand. Holding hands, they gather their courage and step inside together. In a blink, the magical light pulls the pair through. Arriving on the other side, they look around, hearts racing. The swamp is gross, filled with thick mist and a grim sky. He tells her to stay sharp because danger lurks everywhere. Even if it's toxic, some powerful hunter could show up. Just then, a misstep makes the roots on the ground shift. A sinister carnivorous plant wakes up in the middle of the brush. And just like that, the giant flower lands a massive blow on his head. Plucking the thorns off his face, he realizes it's a trap. Panicked, his sister points ahead and screams for help. Glancing to the side, he follows her line of sight. The kid stares into the brush, hunting for the threat. And just like that, two massive monsters crawl from the swamp. Shielding the girl, he tells her to stay cool. One of the beasts lunges, aiming to wipe them out. Fearless, the boy readies his counterattack. In a blink, he lands a direct hit on the creature's neck. That fatal strike drops the monster dead on the ground. Landing on his feet, the lead notices he's still in the zone. And that's where it gets crazy. The other beast rips his arm off. His sister spirals into panic seeing the whole thing go down. Backing away in agony, he fights to keep his head in the game. The white monster charges again with unreal speed. Our guy realizes these mobs are totally overpowered. Suddenly, the girl casts a spell to give him a buff. Mystic energy glows, wrapping around the kid's entire body. Feeling the magic, he notices his severed arm twitching. That limb on the ground starts to float in the air. Locked in, our hero controls his own hand from a distance. Flying high, the arm lands a heavy hit on the beast. The detached hand slams the monster's face into the dirt. It screams in pain, completely pinned by the power. Seeing the opening, our boy rushes in for the finish. With a brutal punch, he takes the creature down for good. As the fight ends, the girl runs over to him in a panic. Catching his breath, The hero smiles and says he's fine. Checking his new arm, he realizes the potential of the magic. He figures out that this all happened because of his sister. 1 month later, hunters face off against dragons in a cave. Carrying a massive boulder, the villain Congo shows up. That brute tosses the rock and hits the dragon mid-air. The monster crashes down, leaving everyone speechless. Leaping onto another dragon, Congo grabs it by the throat. With his bare hands, he destroys the beast with no mercy. And just like that, the notification pops up that he leveled up. Everyone watching is amazed by how easily he did it. Sitting by the fire, the villain gets annoyed that he can't find his targets. A hunter mentions that the reward is drawing in way too many people. Rolling up, a guy says he's got some hot tea to spill. He claims someone saw a masked figure in a dangerous spot. Word is, the mystery guy was hanging out in the poison swamp. This dude apparently took down a giant snake with his bare hands. Everyone shocked. Says that poison is straight up lethal. Only someone with the villain's level of power could pull that off. Congo overhears everything, thinking he's finally found a worthy rival. And just like that, the giant gets super curious to see who it is. Confirming the story, he says the fight went down 3 days ago. Shaking, the guy warns that the swamp is strictly off-limits. Out of nowhere, Congo slams the guy's face with a punch. The impact pins the poor dude to the ground, scaring the whole group. Screaming with rage, he orders everyone to head to the swamp immediately. He flashes a wicked grin, thinking about the masked guy. Back at the swamp, a green fog blankets everything. Both siblings feel the vibe in the forest turn sour. Our hero goes serious, noticing the bad energy in the air. Scaling the trees, the kid spots the entrance. That energy spike confirms Congo just showed up. The girl senses the change and starts trembling with fear. Adjusting his mask, the kid says he's taking the villain on. Grabbing his sister, he says they're strong enough now. With a steady gaze, the boy says it's time for payback. He tells her not to stress about the fight. Flashing a confident grin, he reminds her he's practically immortal. She agrees but warns him that the guy is totally busted. Casting a spell, she surrounds her brother with her power. Leaping through the branches, he reaches the entrance. Hidden up high, he watches the guys down below. Using his vision, the lead tracks every single move. Congo steps through the gate surrounded by his crew. Our guy waits for them to get deeper before striking. Spotting a nearby monster, he hatches a quick plan. Pricking his finger, he smears some blood on his blade. Touching the creature, he triggers his new illusion. And that's where it gets good. This technique forces the target to deal with wild hallucinations. Under hypnosis, the beast starts following his every command. Waves of monsters charge out, trampling everything in their path. One of the lackeys spots the danger and screams at his boss. Watching it all go down, Congo thinks it's just a decent warm-up. He tells his men to stop shaking and get moving. The lackeys charge in, slicing through the monsters. Meanwhile, the villain clears the way with brute force. Wiping the area, he complains that the bugs were mid. One hunter asks for a break, totally drained. Annoyed by the weakness, Congo glares at him with hate. And that's where it gets crazy. The guy starts choking and gags on poison. Others drop to the ground, foaming with toxins. Confused, the giant watches his team go down. Holding his nose, he catches a nasty, rotten stench. He realizes the poison didn't come from the monsters. Staying sharp, the villain hunts for the source. From high in the trees, the masked fighter appears behind him. The boy strikes with a blade aimed for the monster's neck. Dodging narrowly, Congo notices the mask on his face. He instantly realizes this is the guy from the rumors. Grabbing the blade bare-handed, the villain locks it in place. With a twisted grin, he says he's got the kid. Loading up a massive punch, he aims right for his chest. The brute swings, but in just like that, our hero blocks it. Crossing his arms, the kid absorbs the massive impact, sliding back through the mud, leaving the brute completely shot. Smirking, the giant actually praises the kid's strength. Makoto just stares him down, not stepping back once. The heavy hitter laughs out loud, saying he likes his style. Confused, the protagonist just watches the guy's reaction. This villain claims he only respects strength and hates the weak. Pointing at the fallen partners, he calls them all useless. And just like that, he holds out his hand to partner up, promising that joining the guild means fame and fortune. Laughing mockingly, the nutjob asks if that isn't the perfect deal. Our boy stays silent, locked in a stare in the middle of the mud. Stepping on his fallen ally, the giant shows his hatred for the weak. Still, he grumbles about having had some faith in those hunters. He kicks the body aside with pure, cold disdain. Watching that, Makoto realizes this guy is absolute trash. A sudden memory flashes of his sister being beaten by him. Clenching his fist, the kid asks why he picks on the weak. With a maniacal laugh, the giant says he just does it for fun. This is where it gets good. The protagonist's anger boils over. He starts recalling the victims begging for mercy back then. Countless innocent people crying out in pure despair during his attacks. Laughing it off, the guy claims every weakling acts the same way, confessing he actually loves seeing the terror on their faces. This monster gets a rush just thinking about that misery. With a twisted look, he keeps saying how fun it all was. And that's where it gets crazy. Makoto loses it and jumps in for a flying punch. The villain stops the hit with one hand and actually praises the move, pulling his arm back. The giant readies a counterattack, launching a brutal strike aimed right at the kid. Ducking underneath, the boy tries to slash him with his blade. Sliding backward, the villain commends our guy's agility. Behind his mask, Makoto realizes this dude is a total monster. Channeling all his power, the giant charges forward with everything. The lunatic unleashes a heavy impact blow against the boy. And just like that, everything changed. The strike hits his chest, triggering an explosion. The force sends the hero flying and shatters the entire floor. Landing in the mud, he groans from the absurd power of that hit, realizing this was the heaviest strike he's ever taken. Emerging from the dust, the villain is shocked to see the boy still standing. Mocking him, he claims he only used 30% of his power. Stunned, the hero realizes the monster's power level is surreal. The giant eyes his blade and tells him to use whatever he's got. Filled with arrogance, the guy claims he can tank any hit. Rushing forward, the boy goes for another blade strike. He slams the knife right into the villain's chest without a second thought. The blade simply shatters against the brute's hardened skin. Laughing it off, the guy warns that a basic knife won't do a thing. And that's where it gets crazy. He tells him he'll never win this fight. Frustrated, Makoto lands a flurry of punches, but it does nothing. Charging his leg, the giant gears up for a destructive blow. A brutal kick lands square in our hero's stomach, sending him flying. The villain starts celebrating early. Crashing into the swamp, the hero sinks into the toxic fog. The brute complains he went too hard and threw him into the pit. Assuming the boy dissolved, he just turns his back. No one saw that coming. A blade is suddenly buried in the giant's back. Howling in pain, he realizes the weapon was coated in poison. Looking behind him, the villain spots the kid emerging from the water untouched. Shocked, he realizes the acid didn't leave a scratch on him. Straining his body, the villain burns away the poison and gets ready. With blind rage, he unloads a flurry of punches on the kid. A relentless barrage of strikes rains down on him. Gathering all his power, the madman charges up a finishing blow. And just like that, a brutal hit slams the ground, triggering a massive blast. Flames and dust completely obliterate everything around the swamp. A massive crater forms from the sheer force of that impact. Through the smoke, our protagonist stands tall, his cape torn to shreds. Wind clears the haze, revealing the kid staring down the giant. Suddenly, his mask hits the fore, finally revealing his face. Seeing his face, the big guy breaks into wild, uncontrollable laughter. Pointing a finger, he celebrates finding the right target. Looking him dead in the eye with pure hatred, Makoto stares back. That monster mocks him, claiming immortality was his secret all along. Gesturing forward, he says he's always dreamed of avenging his fallen friend. Clenching his fists, he declares there's zero chance for a deal. Fueled by spite, he vows to finish the kid off right there. Our hero hears the threat and asks if that's really all he's got. Burning with rage, the youth promises to do something way worse to him. Both stand locked in tension, ready to tear everything apart. He lunges forward, kicking off the brawl instantly. A storm of impacts tears up the ground as they trade blows. Makoto takes a slash to the arm but stands his ground without flinching. Shockwaves rattle the entire area with every strike they exchange. The villain throws a high kick, aiming right for the kid's head. Dodging the strike, our hero goes for a high-speed counter. Two fists collide, shaking the swamp floor beneath them. Landing in a crouch, the giant braces for his next move. And just like that, everything changed. Makoto bursts through the steam. A flying punch from the kid lands square on the guy's face. Yet the hit connects clean, and the villain's head doesn't even budge. With a mocking grin, the lunatic asks if that's really all he's got. Clenching his own fist, he warns he's about to teach him how it's done. A flaming punch explodes directly into our hero's face. The impact sends the kid flying, skidding hard across the ground. The giant celebrates the hit, claiming that's how you land a blow. But out of nowhere, the villain notices something really off. No one saw that coming. The guy looks genuinely spooked. The kid stands up from the dirt, shaking while clutching his shoulder. Pointing a finger, the villain bursts out laughing, thinking it's pure fear. The giant claims the kid's fear is written all over his body. Crawling backward, the kid tries to escape while the other mocks him. Old traumatic memories start flashing through his mind. The buff guy asks if he remembers the terror of getting beaten up. Taking slow steps, the brute approaches with a sinister grin. But unnoticed, the kid's severed arm is floating right behind him. Staring intently, the kid sends that limb flying instantly. That arm goes like a missile straight into the giant's back. It pierces his shoulder before he can even react. And just like that, the kid realizes his trap worked perfectly. Pulling the arm out, the brute whacks at the weak attempt. With a heavy kick, the villain slams into the protagonist's gut. The impact sends the kid flying, causing him to cough up blood. Curious, the guy asks how the kid got strong so fast. On the ground, the kid just groans in pain, staying silent. He warns he'll keep hitting until he finally speaks up. Stomping on the kid, the giant guesses his sister is nearby. Mentioning the girl makes the protagonist snap in pure rage. That scumbag promises to do terrible things to her. Remembering old abuse, he starts laughing, imagining the scene. Gritting his teeth, the protagonist's fury hits its absolute limit. And that's where it gets good. A deep cut rips right across the villain's back. Totally confused, the giant realizes the kid broke free earlier. Suddenly, he understands he needs to pin the boy down fast. A pool of blood sits where he was lying just seconds ago. Emerging from behind, the hero reappears fully healed. Enveloped in wild energy, the kid reveals a brand new power. The villain freaks out seeing that bizarre regeneration. Moving so fast, the boy vanishes from his sight. Popping up in front of the giant, the lad delivers a flurry. Multiple heavy hits machine gun the brute's body. Feeling the impact, the guy stumbles back, shocked by the speed. With fire surging, the villain claims raw strength wins every time. He tears the hero's arm off again with a crushing blow. Feeling the shock, the youth retreats, reeling from the pain. That giant mocks him, asking how long he can last. Kneeling on the ground, the boy bleeds while struggling to stand. Taunting him, the villain calls the kid pathetic. But under the hood, a dark smile spreads across the protagonist's face. Annoyed by the laughter, the brute demands to know what's funny. Our boy just thinks about how much of a clown this villain is. Revealing the trap, all the severed limbs start floating up. Bloodthirsty, the kid commands every part to swarm. Dozens of arms fly forward, digging into the giant's body. Struggling to hold his ground, the villain screams he won't lose. Flexing his muscles, he tries to fight off the pressure. Shocked by the weight, the giant realizes his power spiked. For the boy, the trauma of the past turned into pure hatred. All that darkness fuels his craving for revenge. A massive blast of dark energy hits the giant hard. That brutal impact tears the fighter's arm right off. Glancing at the finished villain, Makoto suggests a test of strength. Overwhelmed by pain, the brute shakes seeing his arm on the floor. He yells like crazy, promising to tear the kid apart. Charging forward, the guy swings his only fist in flames. Staying calm, the hero just gives one order to focus his power. Every bit of darkness and the floating limbs fuse into his arm. A giant fist of black aura forms around his hand. That shadow strike crashes head-on against the villain's flames. And that's where it gets crazy. The shockwave crushes the giant's attack. Sent flying. The guy hears the kid mocking his strength. Kneeling on the ground, the brute trembles, feeling the defeat. Our boy vows to carve that pain into the villain's body. 1 week later, the guild building sits under a bright sun. Walking down the hall, Haruto and Seiya chat about the Lord. Recalling his fallen friend, the swordsman tells them to go all out. With a calm look, the leader smiles and asks who that guy even was. Stunned by the words, the swordsman lets out an awkward laugh. He keeps a straight face, pretending he forgot his partner. Bursting into laughter, the youth says it was just a joke. Feeling relieved, the swordsman warns him not to play with serious stuff. Changing the subject, he mentions the giant has been missing for days. Calming his ally, the leader says he's probably just out hunting. And just like that, he guarantees the giant will return with both captives. That swordsman wears a wicked grin, craving some time to mess with them. Suddenly, a staff member comes sprinting down the corridor screaming. Arriving out of breath, the man warns them about a strange delivery. Bothered by the scent, he says the box looks pretty suspicious. Following the odor, both hunters go to check it out up close. Entering the room, they see the mage analyzing the box and the table. Pointing at the crate, she warns them this is serious. Peering inside, the swordsman freezes in total shock. Resting in the box is the giant's severed arm with that tattoo. Silence fills the room while everyone processes the scene. Scanning the object with magic, she confirms it's real flesh. The mage is sure the arm belongs to their missing partner. No one saw that coming, especially someone taking down that monster. The leader concludes they sent this as a message. Only those immortal brothers could have a reason like that. Still, the swordsman doubts they leveled up that fast. Haruto reminds him the guy they beat was already a beast, explaining that the beatdown proves their massive power spike. Even so, the swordsman refuses to believe in their evolution. Staring him down, the leader asks how their guild advanced. Flashbacks show the group taking down the immortals repeatedly, and just like that he realizes defeating pros grants massive points. Images reveal the brothers defeating each other to grind non-stop. The leader concludes they farmed until they became completely OP. Terrified, the hunters realize the aberration they've created. The mage tries to calm everyone down to prevent a panic. Worried, the guy clutches his head, totally clueless on what to do. The mage casts a spell to calm him down and suggests a break. Grateful for the assist, the swordsman heads to his room to sleep. Haruto asks if she can leave him alone in the room for a bit. Not saying a word, she just walks out. The leader walks up to the box containing the severed arm by himself. He mocks the limb, thinking the whole scene is just ridiculous. Disgusted, he tosses it in the trash, calling it a mere illusion. He admits the brother's feat but still thinks it's nonsense. Stomping down, the guy crushes an eye kept inside the box. That eye was riddled with spying magic and pops instantly. Back in the forest, our lead covers his eye as his radar dies out. Worried sick about his sister, the kid decides to head back to the cave. He stops by the city on the way to grab some food. While he's at it, he enchants his clothes to mend themselves. Tucked in his pack, he's even got some plushies for the girl. Leaping across rooftops, he speeds through the night. And that's where it gets crazy. He spots hunters chasing someone down. Watching from above, our boy notices the target is a woman. The hooded lady runs in a panic, desperate to get away. Thinking it's their guild's turf, he tries to stay out of it. The guys trap her inside a dead-end alley. Nowhere left to run, she backs against the wall in terror. Closing in, they move to grab her without a shred of mercy. And just like that, everything changed. Makoto drops from the sky, shouting he hates cowards. Blindsided by the strike, one hunter can't even react. With a heavy punch, the protagonist floors the first one. Immediately after, he takes down the second in the blink of an eye. Ensuring she's safe, he tells her to get out of there. Taking a good look at her face, he freezes up instantly. Underneath the hood, he's shocked by who she turns out to be. Over at the swamp, Minori waits for her brother under the moon. Spotting someone approach, the girl runs over to give him a hug. But as she gets closer, she notices someone on his back. He sets the person down, leading his sister feeling curious. Staring in shock, she can't figure out who that girl is. Pulling back the hood, Makoto reveals the girl's face. He tells his sister to get a real good look at her. This is where it gets good. She realizes the girl is a perfect copy of herself. In total shock, she can't even believe what she's seeing. Files pop up showing the swordsman Seiya from the team. He's rank S, famous for his cracked skills with a blade. A total ladies' man playing the hero role everywhere he goes. But the truth about this guy is beyond messed up. Flashbacks show him hanging in a pool surrounded by women, grinning with a drink, faking that nice guy persona. And just like that, the scumbag attacks one of them for no reason. He shows how sadistic he is, picking on innocent people. Inside the cell, he used Minori's power just to beat her down. Licking his blade, the creep loved knowing she wouldn't die. Slashing her repeatedly just to hear her cry out in pain. Laughing at the scene, he confessed he loved hurting girls. Trapped in chains, Makoto screamed for him to stop. Furious at the noise, the villain slashed the kid's throat. The coward told him to shut up and keep on watching. In his twisted mind, this was all just a game. Dragging the girl by her chains, he demanded more screams. Makoto roared in rage, powerless to do a single thing. Now Seiya strolls down the hall, whistling like it's nothing. He spots Haruto walking into a room covered in hazard signs. The psycho remembers that spot is off-limits to everyone. Following the guys, he decides to check out the secret. Haruto senses his presence and wants him not to peek. Faking a chuckle, he claims he was just curious. The leader gives the green light and invites him to see the project. All three walk into a lab packed with massive glass tubes. Looking around, the guy is stunned by what he finds. And just like that, everything changed. There's a perfect copy of Minori inside a tank. The leader explains he built the clone to test her rank. They wanted to replicate her to farm points for the guild. Using advanced tech, they pumped out several clones. The creep stares at the copy in the water with a nasty grin. Haruto mentions their power fizzles out pretty fast. Since they don't grant points, they decided to scrap the lot. The villain asks if they're really tossing them all away. He confirms he only cares about the real deal. Smiling like a lunatic, he inches closer to the tubes. Pointing at the capsules, he asks to take the clones for himself. The guy allows it, noting they don't even have feelings. He reminds him they're just broken dolls that obey orders. Seiya risatisfeito dizendo que isso é para ito pra io. Tirioso o outro pergunta. Seiya le gosta dessas réplicas. O sico para responder que saiu de seu é só pela menina. Elo só quer ter controle todo da garota na mão. lambendo os labios. Diz que ela pertenso a ele. Haruto ola tudo aquilo vendo, o quanto, o cara e doente. Silencio, con que ele sujeito lixo, humano. Na caverna, a copia salva, comisa, canta tudo. Os dois manhuas, escuram correros, cada detalhe. Ela desabafa ali no chão enquanto minori se acalma. E garota agradece odmoro por trazer a copia viva. Makoto pajkunta-se os outros clones andida tal como o vilão. A copia confirma que tem umas dois preços lá. Naso pura aka estranho ela ter instantâneos e as outras não. Triste. A menina diz que não sabe explicar o motivo. Ela viu o cartaz de procurados dos dois na TV. Ao ver a foto deles sentiu calor forte no peito. Sentindo raiva do vilio, criou coragem e fugiu da mansão. A menina implora para os dois salvaremos outros clones, e aí vira o jogo, nós o pro da sobrevivendo, a chance de vingança. The girl looks stunned, questioning what he just said. He explains that he drops his guard since he thinks the clones feel nothing. This is the perfect opening to take the villain down, but she worries about the other's fate. Thinking about the worst-case scenario leaves her completely shaken, and that's where it gets crazy. She grabs her partner in pure desperation. She declares those girls never asked to be created this way. Weeping uncontrollably, she insists it makes no sense to sacrifice anyone. Hugging her own clone, she remembers they were all made from her cells. Alberto argues they need the clones to locate the mansion and save them. She looks at the situation and asks if vengeance is worth sacrificing others. Hearing that hits the guy hard, leaving him frozen in place. Covering his face, he realizes he was acting just like the enemy. Seeing his regret, she approaches calmly so they can fix this together. The young woman swears she'll end Ishiki-saya for treating her sisters like trash. Decided to do what's right, our Protas stands up to take action. He agrees instantly that they're going to save every single girl. Apologizing for the scare, he promises no one will be left behind. Minori wipes the tears from her face and agrees to the plan. Without wasting a second, the two head out toward their goal. Meanwhile, outside the mansion, the sound of footsteps grabs everyone's attention. Noble Iziki storms in, furious that a mindless clone managed to escape. Livid, the man screams, demanding to know why nobody stopped her. Pointing down the hall, he demands answers right now. The maids get their orders to capture the runaway and dash off without hesitation. The search quickly spreads through the crowded city streets at night. Darting through dark alleys, the clone tries to lose her pursuers. And that's where it gets crazy. The search party is closing in fast. She picks up the pace, desperate to slip out of the trap. In a flash, the maids manage to catch up and pin her down. Pushed against the ground, the girl is finally captured. One of the servants radios in that the target's been secured. High up on a structure, our hero and his ally watch the whole scene. He mentions how the followers fell for the plan hook, line, and sinker. Worried, she asks about the original, but he's sure Minori can handle herself. The duo leaps down to keep the group in their sights. Moments later, everyone is back near the massive mansion grounds. Staring at the building, he notes the place is seriously huge. Meanwhile, the clone starts making a mark on her own face. The boy then pulls out a piece of meat he'd been saving. Confused, the girl has no idea what he's doing with that. He explains that with his ability she'll be able to hear everything happening inside. Patting her head, he promises to show up if anything goes wrong. Trusting the plan, the guy wishes her luck on the mission. Reaching the mansion, the maids knock on the main door with the prisoner. Inside the grand hall, they present clone number 100 to their master. Ishiki glares at the servant, demanding to know the reason for her escape. Kneeling down, the girl lies that she only left to chase a suspicious shadow. She adds that she already handled the problem and everything is under control. The noble warns that if she acts on her own again, she'll be discarded. And just like that, his device gets an urgent notification. The man says Haruto called him for a meeting and orders them to get rid of the clone. Lowering her head, the servant confirms the master's order. They walk down the hallway while the magic signal transmits everything. Outside, the boy listens to the conversation and gets on edge hearing the word discard. The maids arrive in front of a closed door at the end of the hall. Pushing the passage open, they step into a dark, gloomy room. No one saw that coming. The newcomer widens her eyes in total shock. The floor is covered with the bodies of many defeated servants. A few staff members sweep everything up without showing any emotion. Horrified by the cruelty, the girl covers her face in complete disbelief. She grabs her companion, whispering they need to bolt before the master catches them. Confused, the other servant asks why they should even try to escape. That cold response leaves the girl completely speechless. She keeps pushing, asking if nobody else notices what they're being forced to do. The servant replies mechanically that they're just clearing the room. Distressed, the girl wonders how they can see this as normal. While the floor is cleaned, she warns that staying here won't lead to happiness. Hearing this, the maid asks what that kind of happiness would even mean. The servant insists they're just slaves made to obey the master. She keeps gulling, saying people like them don't need a will of their own. Their only job is serving, taking punishments, and doing as they're told. And that's where it gets sad. The girl is crushed by such defeatist words. The other one repeats that they exist only as disposable objects. Outside, the night remains dead silent over the mansion. Listening into the comms, our hero slams the tree in a fit of rage. Inside, the girl screams out that all of this is wrong. The maid keeps a vacant stare, insisting there's nothing wrong at all. On her knees, the youngling sobs, refusing to accept that cruel fate. Gathering her courage, she stands up, saying she understands her friend's pain. With a tender gesture, she pulls the other into a tight hug. Whispering in her ear, she asks if it all hasn't been too painful. The maid asks to be let go, but the young girl refuses to release her. She claims that pretending to have no feelings is just a big lie. The girl explains that she just hasn't learned how to express her emotions yet. Holding her hands gently, she promises to rescue her from this place. For the first time, the maid seems confused by the warmth of that care. Suddenly, the door is kicked wide open by Isiki. The noble storms in, demanding to know who gave them permission to talk. Quickly, the servants bow down and beg for forgiveness for their boldness. Without any mercy, the man lands a heavy blow on the young girl. Noticing the mark on her face, he recognizes the troublesome clone. He lands another strike, saying defective products need to be disposed of. Dark memories reveal all the suffering caused by that monster. Even wounded, the girl stares him down with a gaze full of resolve. Annoyed by her defiant posture, the noble draws his sword. That's when one of the maids steps forward, asking him to wait. The scumbag reacts with a furious strike, asking if she dares to give orders. Losing control, he complains that they're all acting on their own. With a look full of hatred, he decides to end that rebellion for good. And just like that, his blade cuts through both girls at once. The villain freezes up, spotting something unexpected. One maid dives in, shielding the other from the strike. Confused, the guy wonders why a clone would risk it all. Tasting the blood on his blade, he notices a familiar flavor. That small detail has him taking a much closer look at her. Suddenly, he holds back, deep in thought. Striking the fallen girl, he looks to test his theory. With a twisted grin, he realizes that's the real Kiryu Minori. Outside, the protagonist hears everything and is totally stunned. Knowing the ruse is up, he rushes to make his move. Sprinting at top speed, he scales the estate walls. Smashing to everything, he forces his way inside. And just like that, the security alarms start blaring everywhere. Ishiki mocks her, asking if her little brother came to the rescue. He brags that the intruder won't ever reach this realm. Barely conscious, Minori tries to process what he means. The villain explains that elite combat squads guard the castle. He laughs, adding that every guard shares her exact face. Meanwhile, the hero is already dodging a flurry of attacks. Surrounded by combatants, he keeps weaving through the strikes. One of the servants lands a direct hit on the guy. Right then, the ally with the mark on her face jumps in to help. The clone slams the attacker down to clear some space. Confronted, she warns them that he's the original creator's brother. The combatant coldly replies that their master's order is to eliminate any intruder. The other servants declare that protecting an invader makes her an enemy. Showing zero mercy, the group gets ready to take the traitor out. The girl's gasping for air under all that pressure. He places a hand on her shoulder, telling her to stay calm. With a confident look, our hero promises he's got this under control. Gathering his energy, he unleashes a brand new power for the fight. The guy stands his ground right in front of all his opponents. Adjusting his mask, he tells her to leave it to her big brother. Back in the main hall, Ishiki keeps attacking Minori without any pity. Seeing the girl down, the noble lets out a mocking laugh. He grabs her by the hair, forcing her to face him. Leaning in, he sneers while getting a whiff of her scent. And that's where it gets crazy. He celebrates the discovery with a wild expression. The villain remarks that the original really has a different presence. Without a second thought, he kicks her violently across the floor. Full of resentment, the noble complains about losing his former allies. Pointing his blade, he questions why she chose to return after running away. He asks with a sarcastic smirk if she came back just to be treated like property. From the floor, the girl snaps back, furious at the cruelty he's shown. Minori draws a dagger and swears with pure hatred she'll never forgive him. The villain just laughs, asking if she's really seeking revenge for the mistreatment. He grabs another servant by the hair just to taunt the girl. The noble mocks her useless efforts, calling the others mere dolls. Overwhelmed by despair, Minori screams with all her might. She tries to strike, but the guy blocks the hit with ease. With one quick motion, he lands a solid hit on her. Minori gets tossed aside while the villain makes fun of how weak she is. The noble raises his sword, ready to target another defenseless maid, and just like that, he delivers a harsh blow against the servant. The poor girl collapses to the floor, moaning in pain. Another clone watches the scene with a look of pure rebellion. The villain notices that and vows to turn her defiance into total despair. Preparing another attack, he rushes toward his next target. He jumps with his sword drawn, aiming to finish the young girl off. This is where it gets good. Minori summons her strength and raises a wall of flames to protect her. But he moves fast, appearing behind her with his blade at her throat. He tells her to stop and asks if she finally gets the situation. The noble reminds her that the ones she's protecting are in his grip. To him, they're just worthless toys. Hearing those insults, Minori bites her lip in pure rage. Then he warns that if she wants to save the clone, she needs to ask properly. In a humiliating tone, he demands she press her forehead to the floor. Trembling with indignation, she refuses to accept that command. The noble presses the blade harder against the hostage to intimidate her. Yelling, he repeats the order for her to kneel immediately. Furious at the delay, he readies a magical strike for punishment. The blow hurts the hostage, and he blames it on Minori's stubbornness. Devastated seeing her friend suffer, she begs him to stop. Mockingly, he asks if that's all she has to say. And no one saw that coming. Completely broken, she cries on the ground, pleading for the others. The guy enjoys the scene, reminding her they all belong to him. He offers to spare them if she agrees to suffer in their place. With no options left, Minori bows humbly before the blade. The tyrant puts his brute in front of her and tells her to lick it. She's shocked, but he warns that she doesn't have the right to refuse. Bukando a juvem pelo, cabelo e beluele, forsaia sedacaro de perto. O vilaudesa claro que unica, risposta aceitável il bedeca semi-questionar. Envrentas a jove macaba concordando para proteger as eraman. O nobre da gargalhadas, histéricas ao fema aceitar a huminhasa. A risada maligna equa, pela sala enquanto o homem se delicia come cena. Porém emam adzo covarde ele desfer un golpe repentino contra ela. O impacto fede gravemente. O rosto da garota arrancando pedazo dela. Minori cayendo chotapando a boca e meio a uma dor insuportável. Pedazos en marcas vermelhas ficam espalhados pelo piso da sala. O nobre se abexa e pega a parte arrancada com a ponta dos dedos. Argrando a pedaço no ar e le se prepara para cometer mais uma loucura. A empregada assiste, a tudo completamente paralisada de horror. O sujeito angole parte arrancada elogiando o sabor como esfuerzo doentio. Apavorada e serva atenta, recuar para fugir e backward aquele psicopata. O homem se move no minu, piscar de orhos e garra, a garota pelo pescoço. Ela sorri dizendo que ninguém ali vai conseguir escapado. Com golpe cruel o nobre rasca, as rupas e fere o corpo de serva. Empolgado come violência ele sigue firme expressões de desespero. O vilão continua atacando enquanto manda a garota chorar e resistir. Erguendo a espada ele declara que no final toda será forçada se obedecer. She winces in pain as the strike tears through her clothes. Watching her suffer, the noble starts laughing like a maniac. But then something shifts. He gets a clean punch right to the face. Our lead shows up, absolutely bodying the coward with a massive hit. With the force of that impact, the villain goes flying through the air. Smashing into the ground, he coughs up blood, totally lost. The hero walks up to Minori and apologizes for being late. Furious at the interruption, the noble stands up, pointing at the intruder. He starts screaming, asking what happened to the palace clones. Walking forward, the boy replies that he'd never hurt his sister. He explains it was a bit of a hassle, but he just knocked them all out. Calling it boring, the villain claims he would have done way worse. Threateningly, the guy promises to catch the girl and make her pay. Flares of aura erupt as our hero swears to crush the scumbag 1,000,000 times. In a blink, the hero rushes in, landing another heavy blow. The noble blocks it with his blade, mocking the boy's effort. Butting an opening, our guy charges straight down the hall. Quickly, the enemy readies a special technique charged with electricity. Using lightning slash, the villain streaks past at high speed. The strike hits the boy's chest, sending Crimson flying through the air. Despite his wounds, the protagonist uses body manipulation to catch his rival off guard. A detached fist connects right with the guy's face, totally taking him by surprise. The force of the blow sends the man crashing hard against the wall, shattering the structure. The noble flies straight through into the main hall. Inside, several servants watch their fallen master as the boy closes the distance. Panicked, the tyrant screams orders for them to form a barrier and protect him. The fighters position themselves on the stairs, blocking the intruder's path. Watching the scene, the young man calls it pathetic to hide behind girls. Furiously, the man retorts that those dolls belong only to him. With a dark gaze, our protagonist tells the guy to shut it for good. Suddenly, the clones jump in with weapons drawn to capture him. They surround the boy, trying to lock down his nudes in the center of the room. Looking into his eyes, one of the servants sees the face of Minori herself. Frozen in place, she feels a strange connection echoing in her mind. Capitalizing on her hesitation, the boy shoves the fighters aside to break free. Reaching the room, the real Minori screams for her brother at the top of her lungs. The other servants turn around, stunned, to see the girl standing at the door. And that's where it gets crazy. An attack hits her and she cries out in pain. The hero loses it completely as he watches his sister hurt right in front of him. Seizing the moment of distraction, the servants pin the boy down by his arms. Struggling to break free, he demands they let go so he can help her. Minori sobs on the floor, begging the attacker to stop this cruelty. Tears streaming down, she calls out for her brother as her strength fades away. The noble strolls forward, dragging his sharpened blade across the floor. And that's where it gets crazy without pity. He strikes the boy while letting out a twisted laugh. Mocking him, the guy asks if he's really too weak to protect his own sister. Though wounded, our lead pulls her close, shielding her with all his care. Whispering softly, he apologizes for all the suffering she's had to endure. The servant stands frozen, claiming that she was just doing her job. He tells her kindly that it's all wrong and she was just following orders. Suddenly, he locks a death stare onto the noble who attacked him. Shaken by that intense bloodlust, the man stumbles back a few steps. Desperate to keep control, the tyrant lunges at him once again. The coward raises his sword, threatening to finish off another helpless servant. Spotting the danger, our lead kicks into high gear, sensing the kill. Sprinting toward the threat, he throws himself right in front of the strike. No one saw that coming. The villain bursts into laughter as the boy gets hit again. Sneering, he asks if the kid really plans on just taking the hits. Minori tries to intervene, but he warns he'll torture her if the boy fights back. A dangerous greenish glow starts flickering in the noble's eyes. Summoning his massive blade, he preps for a final strike. Using the Wind Destroyer technique, he hits the boy with full force. Stepping on his chest, the guy tells him to watch what happens next. He grinds the boy's face into the red floor, feeling zero remorse. And just like that, the kid grabs the tyrant's leg with insane strength. Getting up covered in dark smoke, he asks who said it was over. The noble gets triggered, screaming at him not to act tough while half dead. Behind the hero, the clones gather to watch his sheer determination. One of the servants asks why he's risking everything just to protect them. With a genuine smile, he asks if he really needs a reason to save his sister. That answer leaves all the girls completely moved and confused. The villain clicks his tongue, annoyed by the emotional speech. He insists they were all built by Byakuran tech just to be slaves. Turning his back, the noble orders the clones to finish the kid right now. To brush the massacre, he promises the one who kills the intruder can serve him. And no one saw that coming. Not a single servant moves to obey. Realizing they're defying him, he screams in a rage, demanding their attention. Holding their weapons, the girls tremble as they try to speak their minds. The noble stares at the group, stunned by the sudden rebellion. Minori appears at the entrance, claiming they finally understood everything. The guy grinds his teeth in rage watching the girl take charge. She explains the sisters finally know all the suffering they've endured. Our hero stands his ground while she says they all recognize their protector. Turning their blades on the noble, the clones finally spot the true enemy. And no one saw that coming. The guy starts shaking, terrified by all those weapons. The entire army of servants moves forward, closing in on their former master. A voice echoes through the grand hall, warning them not to harm their savior. In unison, the girls repeat that nobody is touching their older brother. Cornered in the middle of the room, the villain realizes he's lost control of everything. Minori watches the scene, amazed by the unity of her sisters. Our Pruda watches the clones' rebellion with intense focus. The servant reveals that genetically they're all part of the same person as Minori. Because of that link, memories from the original girl flowed into all their minds. They saw clearly every single moment their brother fought to defend them. The guy realizes this happened thanks to his body manipulation skill. That technique allowed him to transfer feelings and memories through their very genes. Desperate, the tyrant screams that he's still their only master. He yells that dolls are only meant to follow his orders. The fighters grip their spears and swords without showing any hesitation. And just like that, everything changed. They declare they'll punish anyone who tries to hurt their brother. The girls declare in unison that anyone hurting him is now their enemy. Panicked, the noble threatens to strike them all down with his blade. Before he can even react, the kid pops up behind him, grabbing his head, and that's where it gets good. Our hero slams the tyrant down while a maid helps with the strike. The guy's completely pinned to the ground under their control. Staring coldly at the loser, the boy asks how they should finish this coward. Minori steps up with a heavy tool, asking to handle the punishment herself. She claims she'll only find peace by taking her revenge personally. Landing a clean hit, she sends the guy screaming in pure agony. Consumed by deep hatred, the clones watch the scene with glowing eyes. She keeps hammering away at the aggressor without a shred of pity. No one saw that coming. The man cries and yells while she says it's still not enough. Furiously, she swears to break him until his voice fades away for good. One of the maids hesitates, raising her hand to ask if this is right. Another servant reminds them all of the unspeakable pain they suffered under him. Minori glares at the noble, recalling dozens of sisters destroyed on a whim. With her eyes full of spite, she insists the tyrant deserves even worse. The boy steps in calmly, saying he understands their pain perfectly. He acknowledges they were all treated in the worst way possible for way too long. The maids bow their heads, agreeing that living there was a total nightmare. One of the staff members reveals there's a dangerous creature locked in the basement. She explains the monster was modified using tech from Biokirin. It's a vicious beast programmed to attack any living thing in sight. The hero asks if it even targets men, and she confirms it. She recounts how a hunter who challenged the noble met the same grim fate. The prisoner was tossed into that cell to suffer against the beast. Hearing the story, the boy trades looks with Minori to gauge her thoughts. She firmly replies she'll accept that outcome to punish the villain properly. Decided, the youth asks the maid to lead them down to the basement. Trapped and chained in the dark cell, Ishiki screams, begging to be let out. On the other side of the observation glass, the group watches everything. One of the maids enters the code, unlocking the heavy gate. The door creeps open, and the noble panics as a giant shadow emerges. He collapses in total fear, pleading not to be left with the creature. A modified Emperor Ogre appears before him with glowing red eyes. Watching through the glass, the boy identifies the legendary dungeon monster. And that's where it gets crazy. They say this species has enough power to build an entire nation. The kid mentions that, originally, this type of monster only targeted females. But the modifications by Byakurin shifted its instincts to strike any target. Sickened by the sight, Minori covers her eyes and asks to leave. The girl hits the panel to drop the blinds and block the view of the cell. Inside, the massive monster grabs the man while he screams in terror. The creature strikes the prisoner, leaving him zero chance to defend himself. The noble sobs and cries out in pure despair within the closed room. Drooling with hunger, the beast advances on the scumbag's body. The man screams echo as he's completely overwhelmed by the monster. Back in the control room, one of the maids asks if Minori and the guy are okay. Leaning against the wall, the boy says he's wiped and needs some rest. The maid offers them some warm tea so everyone can recover from the raid. Sitting in the break room, Minori thanks the hero for holding it together. Sipping his drink, he mentions he was planning to take down the noble anyway. She praises his kindness for sparing the lives of all the castle maids. Choked up, she bows deeply, thanking him from the bottom of her heart. Drinking his tea, the youth tells her not to bow since he only did what was needed. He quickly pivots, asking to see the rest of the property. He's gotta gather supplies and track down any leads on Byakurin. Minori agrees, saying she'll stay there and rest while he investigates. She calls for clone number 3 to guide him through the mansion hallways. The maid opens the door with a gentle smile and invites him to follow. Walking up the stairs, he asks what she plans to do from here on out. The girl replies she has no clue, since they were born as mere creations without a choice. She vents, saying no one in this world would ever accept artificial beings like them. Quickly he pushes back, promising that even if the world rejects them, he'll always be by their side, explaining that nobody should have to justify their existence or the reason they were born. To him, it's enough to just live and seek out your own happiness every single day. Hearing those comforting words, the servant breaks into a smile with tears in her eyes. Typing in the door code, she promises to do her absolute best to live a good life. Pushing the door open, she turns around happily to keep leading him through. And just like that, a shockwave of energy slices through the air, hitting her head-on. Blood splatters across the hero's face, As the servant goes down in an instant, the girl hits the floor and no one saw that coming. He's left in total shock. Watching his companion taken out so brutally, the boy completely loses his footing, eyes wide open. The protagonist tries to figure out who launched the attack. At the end of the hall, a silver-haired swordsman appears, greeting him. Stepping over the bodies of several servants, the newcomer asks where Seiya is. Kneeling beside the girl, our protagonist shakes with pure rage. The man in white mocks their reunion, saying he'd love to celebrate in peace. Exuding a killer aura, he declares he'll have to finish off everyone there. Drawing his blade, the warrior charges forward at blinding speed. Our hero crosses his arms, trying his best to block the incoming barrage of slashes. The enemy appears behind him, mocking the kid's slow reflexes. Then thrown back with wounded arms, he feels the full impact of the blow. Channeling red energy into his fists, the protagonist lunges for a counterattack. He lands a punch with full force, aiming straight for his opponent's face. The swordsman stops the hit with one hand, saying the attack was way too slow. Trying a quick combo, the boy finds his rival dodging with extreme ease. Charging his blade with magic, the man claims that fighting blindly is useless. With a confident smirk, the swordsman warns he'll show him how to really strike. He fires a massive energy beam that hits our hero with a violent crash. That's where it gets crazy. The explosion wrecks the mansion, sending debris flying everywhere. Amidst the smoke, the boy emerges standing, though his body is badly beaten. Clutching his bleeding arm, he calls his rival a monster. The swordsman chuckles, finding it hilarious coming from someone supposedly immortal. Trying to trigger his regeneration skill, the boy attempts to close his deep wounds. To his despair, his flesh won't heal and the injury stays wide open. He's in shock, realizing his healing power just isn't working anymore. The adversary reveals he enchanted his sword with a holy attribute to nullify regeneration. No one saw that coming. The hero realizes Kira is on a totally different level. With no clear way to win, his only thought is to ensure Minori gets away. Staring down his rival, he demands to know how he found them there. Kira rests his hand on his chin, thinking before he answers. The swordsman explains Seiya's report stopped, so he came to investigate. With a cynical smirk, the guy says he got lucky finding him. Our hero demands to know why he used the plural. The rival keeps mocking him, confirming he knows someone else is nearby. And that's where it gets crazy. Realizing Minori's been found leaves him desperate. He scans the area, desperately hunting for an escape route. The white-clad warrior warns he has zero interest in avenging his allies. In fact, he's actually thankful they took out the rest of the party. He explains their downfall helped boost the protagonist level. With a manic look, he reveals killing the kid now will net way more XP. Our hero is horrified, calling the man completely unhinged. The swordsman just laughs, agreeing without a shred of remorse. Suddenly, he lunges forward at high speed, slicing through the air. The blade pierces the boy's chest in one precise, cruel strike. He coughs up blood, feeling the devastating force of the attack. The warrior cheers as a glow of power starts to flare up. A barrage of level-up notifications starts popping up non-stop. A massive magical aura wraps around the swordsman as he cackles with joy. The villain is euphoric, savoring the overwhelming rush of power through his body. Even badly injured, our protagonist tries to retaliate with a punch. The boy swears he's gonna take down that monster at any cost. The swordsman just smiles, saying the kid won't be able to do a thing. He activates the Holy Domain skill, releasing a wave of light energy. The magical blast sends the young man flying down the hallway. Multiple slashes of light hit the hero while his rival mocks his weakness. The enemy arrogantly claims that at this level, the kid can't even touch him. Down on the floor, the boy realizes in shock his healing can't keep up with the damage. The swordsman declares he seeks absolute power and nothing else matters. He offers a choice, saying he'll spare the girl if the youth surrenders peacefully. Otherwise, the villain warns he'll capture him by force and hunt down Minori. Desperate, the boy asks if the enemy is actually telling the truth. Anguish takes over the hero faced with that terrible decision. With no other way out, the youth kneels and presses his head to the floor. Humiliated, he begs the rival to take only him and spare his sister. In tears, the boy pleads for them not to bring any harm to Minori. The villain bursts into laughter, asking where the boy's pride went. The man pretends to accept the request, saying he'll show mercy and let her go. For a split second, the youth looks up, believing the enemy's promise. And just like that, everything changed. The swordsman grins, revealing it was all a lie. Pointing down the hallway, he confirms he's going to finish the girl off next. Filled with rage, our lead shouts his rival's name with everything he's got. He lunges at him, but the guy dodges with insane agility. Several shadow clones jump from the stairs, surrounding the swordsman in the hall. The group leader shouts for everyone to unite and protect their older brother. The warrior scans the room, noticing there are still a few maids left nearby. Minori runs over looking worried and asking if he's doing okay. He screams in desperation for the girls to stop because no one there can win. In one quick motion, the villain's blade takes out 3 servants at once. No one saw that coming. The clones activate a magic device, saying they'll buy time for their escape. Noticing the intense glow, the swordsman is stunned by the sheer amount of mana. He leaps up, prepping another strike to interrupt the girl's spell. Holding the artifact, the clone thanks the boy for saving them from that suffering. The instant transfer magic kicks in, wrapping the pair in a blue light. The hero and Minori are left in shock as the teleportation begins. The swordsman's strike hits nothing but the empty floor after they vanish. Realizing they used teleportation, he recalls that it requires a massive mana reserve. Seeing the drained artifact in the clone's hand, the warrior finds it all quite annoying. He glares at the remaining maids, warning them that attacking together won't make a difference. One of the maids pulls a secret pin hidden under her dress. The girl claims he should have known their true purpose by now. Flashbacks show the old master talking about a special trick for these dolls. Clearly, the noble planned to use the maids as disposable weapons from the start. The swordsman's eyes widen as he realizes the madness about to unfold. Channeling high-density soul energy, the clone turns herself into a living bomb. With the magic crystal shattering, the girl thanks them for their past kindness. And that's where it gets crazy. The guy in white shields himself as a blinding light fills the room. A massive blast shreds the mansion's main hall, kicking up clouds of smoke. Elsewhere, an elegant mage named Sagiri Aya appears. She's known as one of the most beautiful and influential women in the Byakuran organization. With her graceful posture and natural charm, she draws everyone in. Anyone meeting her ends up falling for her refined demeanor. But spend enough time around her and you'll uncover a hidden secret. A man walks toward the bathroom door, expecting to find her relaxing. Pushing the door open, he drops his glass in total shock. Under the shower head, she shows a sadistic smile, covered in red stains. 6 months ago, a security door was unlocked in the underground labs. Sagiri paced between various extraction tanks to check on the progress. On the monitor, the system showed capacity had reached 50%. She celebrated the results but wanted to push the process even faster. Right in front of her are the main character and his sister Minori, held by chains. Both siblings are hanging inside the tank with looks of total exhaustion. Noticing the extraction has paused, the woman types on the keyboard to reboot the system. At the bottom of the tank, a sharp mechanism with spinning blades starts moving. The turbine picks up speed right beneath the feet of the 2 captives. The equipment makes contact with them, forcing a constant release of vital energy. Their energy drains through the pipes while they endure the machine's torment. The sorceress hums happily, clearly enjoying the prisoner's suffering. Watching the flow through the machinery, she celebrates the success of her dark experiment. She mentions that this method doesn't help with leveling up but serves another goal. And just like that, the collection bar on the monitor hits 52%. Looking at the accumulated fluid, she says that all she needs is that vital power. She reveals she thought immortal beings would look like decaying undead creatures. But staring at young Minori, she's amazed by the purity and softness of her skin. Whenever the siblings struggle and fade, their bodies are reborn as perfect as newborns. The mage reveals her obsession with eternal youth to keep her beauty and gain effortless wealth. Consumed by envy, she's furious they were born with a gift so rare without ever fighting. She opens the reservoir tap to collect a sample of that special liquid. Filling a glass to the brim, she cheers that she'll never have to fear aging again. This is where it gets good. She drinks it with delight, sighing, satisfied with her elixir. The mage savors the liquid with a look of pure satisfaction. She claims that by consuming that blood she keeps her skin youthful and radiant. Smirking in vanity, the woman licks her lips. Standing before the tank, she demands more life energy be offered for her benefit. In another moment, Kira's sinister laugh echoes to the void. Back in the present, the morning sun rises over the massive crater left by the mansion's destruction. Amidst this smoke, the swordsman notices there's no sign of the fugitives. Gazing upward, the man wonders if they managed to escape. Suddenly, a beeping sound starts coming from his wrist gear. A magical projection of Sagiri Aya appears right before the warrior. He greets the woman in a laid-back way, but she responds with total irritation. The mage demands news of the siblings and finds out they defeated Seiya and fled. Losing it, she screams that she doesn't care about Seiya and demands the target's blood immediately. The swordsman asks what the rush is since she has plenty of reserves stored up. Back in her lab, the mage panics, saying the blood needs to be fresh to work. And that's where it gets crazy. Consumed by despair, she fears losing her beauty and elegance over time. The warrior finds her tantrum annoying and warns he doesn't give a rip about her vanity. Irritated, she complains that Haruto does nothing and orders the swordsman to capture the duo now. His tone shifts, questioning since when she became important to give him orders. He warns that if she wants the blood, she should hunt on her own, because their paths end here. Before hanging up, the warrior mocks her, saying that much anger is going to give her wrinkles. Seething at the insolence, the sorceress makes flames erupt around her hands. She yells, rightfully indignant, asking who he thinks he is to talk to her like that. Determined to get what she wants, the woman decides to take matters into her own hands. In a dark place, Minori wakes up, calling out for her older brother. The young girl spots the boy lying nearby and asks if he's finally awake. Looking around, the guy realizes they've been teleported straight into a dungeon. In a panic, he asks where all the other servants went. The girl bows her head in silence, her expression filled with sadness. Overcome with rage, the boy slams his fist against the cave wall in frustration. He drops to his knees, sobbing because he couldn't keep his promise to save them all. Minori hugs her brother from behind, trying to comfort his broken heart. She whispers softly that he gave it his all and that everyone recognizes his effort. Teary-eyed, the boy remembers his harsh words from before and how he wanted to make things right. She explains that his true feelings reached the servants, and that's why they chose to help them. And just like that, everything changed as she shares their final message, asking them to live on for them too. Hearing those words makes the boy weep even harder, completely overwhelmed. Shaken, the young man laments his own weakness for failing to protect them. With his hand over his face, he admits he needs to get a whole lot stronger. Minori cries alongside him, promising that they'll level up together from this moment on. The siblings hold hands, making a new promise to keep going. She mentions he was out cold for a full day and Byakuren dropped an official update. He asks if it's about Seiya's defeat, but she says there's more to it. Checking her phone, she shows the bounty on their heads jumped 10 times to 5 billion each. Now, the names Do Seishin and Kiryu Minori are on a wanted poster with a wild price tag. Seeing the online comments, she warns they need to leave the dungeon before they get tracked. Walking through the underground path, the pair heads straight for the cavern exit. Minori spots a glow at the end of the tunnel, cheering that she found the way out. And just like that, everything changed. He senses an overwhelming presence, blocking the path. On high alert, he pulls his sister back, telling her to stop right now. A massive shadow stretches across the cave entrance, blocking out the sunlight. A giant reptilian eye opens, radiating a terrifying, bloodthirsty vibe. Out in the clearing, a huge black dragon lands right between the trees. Frozen in shock, they can hardly believe what's standing in front of them. This legendary creature lets out a roar as flames start building in its throat. The ground shakes from the roar, signaling the monster is loose outside the dungeon. Minori suggests falling back, but he shouts at her to run for the exit. The beast charges up a massive blast, aiming right at them. A giant beam of fire explodes, incinerating everything in its path. Flames erupt everywhere, forcing the two of them to dive to the ground. Thick smoke blankets the woods as the creature takes flight above the trees. Watching the beast, the girl finds it strange to see a high-level monster loose on the surface. Carrying his sister, he sprints through the forest to dodge the incoming attacks. He warns that they can't beat a dragon head-on and orders her to run. Dozens of fire orbs fall like meteors, tearing through the forest. Spotting a village ahead, the guy remembers dragons usually don't target human towns. But then it gets wild. The monster unleashes its flames, blowing up the buildings. Minori watches the chaos in shock, failing to grasp the creature's fury. The beast's breath hits 3,000 degrees and its scales shrug off cannon fire. Taking down a monster this huge would need every top-tier guild working together. Surrounded by flames, he wonders how they're possibly getting out of this. Staring at the burning monster, he decides they have to face the threat. Freaking out, the girl asks if he's actually serious about fighting. Determined, our lead says they'll take down the dragon to level up. He recalls his promise, saying if they run from a dragon, they'll never beat Kira. Getting the message, Minori clenches her fists with newfound courage. The two lock eyes, ready to give everything they've got in this fight. The guy moves to the left while she circles around to the right. That massive beast tracks them both, its eyes glowing with golden flames. Leaping into the air, our hero closes the distance for a clean strike. He activates his physical buff, cloaking his body in a crimson aura. The guy declares he's not the only one who can fight in the air. Knowing every living thing has a weak spot, he aims for the head. With everything he's got, he lands a massive punch on the dragon's snout. The impact echoes through its skull as sparks fly everywhere. Clutching his bruised hand, he's shocked by how tough those scales really are. Seizing the opening, Minori rushes toward the creature's exposed spots. Her dagger hits the beast, but the blade shatters against its shell. With a sharp flick, the monster swings its massive tail at her. The strike sends her flying, And that's where it gets crazy. He screams out in terror. Our hero weeps to intercept while the beast's mouth begins to glow with energy. The dragon fires a scorching blast, forcing her to worry about her brother. Rising with fury, Minori charges to strike the monster with magic. The creature's eyes shift colors, burning with a dark, sinister flame. A massive stream of shadow fire rains down, swallowing her position. She projects a magic circle to try and hold back the impact. In a panic, she realizes those black flames can burn through magic itself. The dark fire catches her shoulder, and no one saw that coming. She screams in agony. Right then, the memory of her sister's smiles flashes through her mind. Gripping her blade tight, Minori vows she'll get way stronger to win this. Slashing off the area hit by the black flames to keep the fire from spreading. Rushing over, he realizes the sacrifice she just had to make. Minori turns to her brother, showing she's still ready to fight. With a steady gaze, the hero declares the battle is far from over. Looking at his own scorched arm, he mentions the beast's heat melted his bones. Without hesitation, he rips off the wounded limb to pull a risky play. Launching the remains with full force, straight at the creature. That strike hits the beast's eye, leaving it completely disoriented. Yelling out, he signals that this is the perfect moment to strike. Minori dashes forward, taking full advantage of the enemy's distraction. Channeling an insane amount of energy, she preps a devastating spell. Summoning a dark inferno, she unleashes a storm of shadow fire onto the dragon. Caught off guard, the creature roars in pain as flames shred its defenses. With the monster down, Dousishin runs in to deliver the final blow. Leaping into the air, he focuses every bit of power into one point. Knowing his fists won't pierce those scales, he compresses his body structure. His arm morphs into a razor-sharp, jagged blade. Diving down, he slams the biological spear right into the beast's skull. And just like that, the impact pins the dragon to the ground. It's finally over. Standing in the dust, he takes a deep breath. After such an intense battle, multiple level-up notifications pop up right in front of him. Meanwhile, Minori gets a massive boost to her magic stats too. Sitting by the fallen monster, the two celebrate their victory, completely exhausted. He asks about her new magic, and she says her power awakened when she touched the flames. Feeling proud, he praises his sister for such an awesome power spike. Surveying the scorched forest, he wonders why a dragon would even be here. Minori checks the creature and realizes someone was controlling the monster. She recalls that pink glint in the beast's eyes during the fight. That same eerie light was spotted in the labs back in the day. Suddenly it all clicks for her. She recognizes the pattern of that mental energy. He confirms that the glow is a dead giveaway for hypnosis magic. No one else could pull off controlling a beast that violent. And that's where it gets crazy. The image of the terrifying Sagari Aya pops into her mind as the prime suspect. A flock of birds suddenly takes flight, grabbing their attention. Looking toward the horizon, they sense new hostile presences closing in. Several more dragons cut through the sky, coming straight from the ocean. Riding on one of the creatures, hunters in military gear appear. Two warriors leap off the dragon's back, landing right on the hilltop. The enemy duo draws their blades, staring down the pair with cold eyes. Our hero and Minori shift into combat stance, bracing for the worst. The girl suspects those soldiers are being controlled by magic too. The swordsman lunges, forcing her to parry with her dagger. Another man tries to strike the hero, but he blocks the blade with his forearm. Hitting back hard, the boy sends the soldier flying into the ground. Taking down the foe, he realizes there's another threat from above. A dragon circles overhead, gathering a colossal amount of fire in its maw. The beast unleashes a torrent of flames, engulfing the entire beach. A wall of water rises to collide with the fire, creating a massive steam cloud. He notices the range of this attack is way bigger than the last beast's. And that's where it gets crazy. They already found exactly where they're hiding. More soldiers and creatures land all around, closing the trap on them. He decides to handle the flying monsters and tells Minori to hold off the hunters. The girl hesitates, asking if they're truly just innocent people being controlled. He confirms her suspicion, lamenting how cruel this whole situation is. Apologizing for the burden, he tells his sister to step behind him. Taking a step forward, he's ready to face every single enemy alone. Watching his back, she feels a sharp ache deep in her chest. She wonders if it's right to let her brother carry all the weight again. Clenching her fists, she remembers everything they've lost so far. Memories of the clone's sacrifice flash through her mind, and that's where it gets good. His eyes glow with pure resolve, refusing to let any more tragedy happen. Grabbing his arm, she tells him to wait just a second. She opens up, admitting she relied on his strength too much. But that's changing today. A satisfied smile crosses his face as he watches her find her nerve again. Standing right by his side, she declares this battle is payback for them both. Charging together, the siblings tear through the troops blocking the path. Minori forms fire orbs in her hands, prepping her new offensive abilities. Firing off flames, she neutralizes the first hunter without ending his life. The hero tears through the formation, clearing the way with slick movements. An emerald dragon lands, and that's where it gets crazy. It's prepping a counter. The beast gathers a massive water orb in its throat, locked onto him. Rapid water blades slice through the air with terrifying speed. Using his body manipulation, he contorts his torso to dodge perfectly. Launching his upper body forward, he slides into the monster's mouth before the shot. Deep inside, he strikes the creature's throat at its most vulnerable spot. He triggers a poison enchantment, flooding the beast's tissues with toxins. The poison spreads instantly, forcing the dragon into a painful collapse. Delivering a massive kick, our lead slams the giant creature to the ground. The guy sighs at the rush while the defeated beast falls limp. Another wave of level-up notifications lights up his vision. Meanwhile, Minori leaps away, dodging strikes from multiple armed hunters. She fires off flame bullets, apologizing while taking down her targets. Mages atop the cliff cast barrage spells, forcing the girl to raise a barrier. Suddenly, a soldier appears behind her, stabbing her side in a low-blow strike. Surrounded by blades, she realizes there are just way too many opponents. Without a second thought, she lets out a blast of black flames, repelling everyone nearby. The dark shockwave sweeps across the battlefield while a figure watches from afar. Minori tells them to stop, warning that the injured can be treated if they just quit now. And just like that, everything changed. She stares in total shock as something bizarre happens. Even with deep burns, the soldiers start getting back up, covered in dark smoke. Forced hypnosis makes their bodies obey orders even on the brink of collapse. Controlled troops march forward slowly, showing absolutely no pain or fear. She backs away, terrified by that monstrous display of mind control. Dosation checks the sky, realizing the situation is officially out of hand. A rift of purple lightning cracks open above the cliff with a mocking laugh. Staring at the rift, the siblings realize the true mastermind has arrived. Sagiri Aya steps through the portal, gripping her staff and saying she found them. He notices she came solo without that dangerous swordsman Kira by her side. In a defiant tone, our lead asks how she managed to track their location. The mage pets her dragon, revealing she can share the senses of everyone she's hypnotized. He drops a sarcastic comment about her having some nerve showing up without Kira. With a smug grin, she claims she doesn't need anyone else to take them out. Minori preps her black flames, warning that such arrogance is gonna be her downfall. The girl fires a torrent of dark fire straight at the mage. To defend herself, the woman drags her hypnotized soldiers in as human shields. She mocks them, asking if using her own men like that isn't super convenient. That coldness, that complete lack of respect for life, it shakes the girl to her core. Through tears, she yells, asking if these villains have absolutely no regard for others. The sorceress listens with a look of pure, arrogant disdain. Stepping on a fallen soldier, she declares that human lives have zero value. And just like that, the girl is left in total shock by that monstrous answer. The woman claims only her strength and beauty matter, calling everything else trash. Minori charges in, furious, shouting that every single person holds the same worth. The sorceress scoffs, telling her to keep dreaming in her little fantasy world. Raising her staff, she decides it's time to crush all of the girl's hope. She triggers her Thunderbolt skill, unleashing a massive barrage of purple lightning. Dozens of electric beams rain down, slamming into the ground with insane power. The girl takes the hit, sent flying away from her brother in the chaos. Desperate, our lead screams her name as the blast tears them apart. In the blink of an eye, the sorceress appears behind him, whispering in his ear. He tries to react but gets caught off guard by her proximity. She activates temptation hypnosis, casting a mental spell directly at him. Rising from the rubble, Minori struggles to catch her breath. Glancing toward the cliffside, she falls into despair at the sight. The sorceress holds him steady while he stays frozen under mental control. She watches from afar, seeing her brother completely paralyzed by the spell. His eyes begin to glow with a pink hue, confirming the hypnosis is absolute. Terrified, Minori screams for her brother, trying to snap him out of it. The woman caresses him, remarking on how perfect he is for eternal youth. She leans in with malice, provoking the boy right in front of his sister. Desperate, the girl sprints toward them, shouting for the witch to let him go. Pulling out a dagger with a wicked grin, the villain plots something terrible. In one sudden motion, a blade pierces flesh, spraying blood everywhere. And that's where it gets crazy. She uses him as a shield, forcing Minori to strike her own brother. Panic takes over as she realizes her blade has wounded his abdomen. The woman laughs, mocking the girl for stabbing her own protector. Overcome with fury, the girl lashes out at the sorceress with all her might. Just like that, the villain smiles and commands her new puppet to move. Under mental control, the boy throws a heavy punch, knocking his sister back, collapsed on the ground. Minori begs through tears for her brother to wake up. She asks if he doesn't recognize her, but the woman warns it's useless. The mage explains the hypnosis only ends as she breaks it or dies. With a cruel order, she commands the boy to fight his own sister to the end. The youth lunges at top speed, launching a strike toward the girl. Minori is hit with force, slamming into the rocky ground. He delivers another violent blow, pinning her against the stones. The sorceress celebrates, asking how it feels to be hated by the one you love most. Hurt, the girl realizes her brother is too strong and she'll die if she doesn't fight back. Standing with her blade, she cries, asking for forgiveness for what she must do. Minori cloaks her dagger in black flames, her heart heavy with pain. The boy walks toward her with hollow eyes, fully under the spell. For a split second, she remembers her brother's warm and protective smile. That memory makes her hesitate, lacking the courage to truly hurt him. The hero attacks without mercy, forcing her to defend herself at her limit. With a devastating kick, he sends her flying away once again. She drops her weapon, sobbing because she can't bring herself to fight him. The boy closes in and grabs her by the throat, lifting her off the ground. Gasping for air and bleeding, she wonders in desperation what she should do. Flashbacks show the moment he protected her inside the prison cells. She recalls every single time he took care of her with such kindness. The hero's confident face flashes back into her deepest memories. She recalls him crying, promising they'd get stronger together. That vow of unity and growth echoes clearly in her mind. Opening her eyes, Minori decides she can't be a burden anymore. The sorceress walks up, mocking the girl's desperate whimpers. Grabbing his hands, the girl summons her final bit of strength to speak. With pure fury, she screams she's going to finish that old witch for good. And that's where it gets crazy. Being called old makes the vain sorceress snap. Totally losing it, the woman yells for the boy to crush the girl without mercy. Minori unleashes black flames, catching her brother off guard and breaking his stance. Dodging his attack, she whispers a heartfelt apology. The girl raises a massive sphere of dark fire high above their heads. She detonates the black flames at point-blank range, hitting them both. The shockwave is so violent that the sorceress has to put up a barrier. She always used to think that just following in her brother's footsteps was enough. She figured as long as he was nearby, everything would turn out fine. But now she realizes that just leaning on him isn't gonna cut it. With a determined look, she knows she needs to become truly strong. Inside the lethal flames, both siblings trade fatal blows. And just like that, everything changed. The boy's strike hits her body with devastating force. Simultaneously, Minori's flame strike takes out her brother's body. Colliding their powers, they tear each other apart in the middle of the inferno. Through every blow, she feels him apologizing deep within his conscience. The girl realizes she's the one who should be sorry for always being a burden. With every instant death and rebirth, level-up screens start popping up, continuously destroying and healing their bodies. Their power spikes non-stop. Dozens of evolution windows appear, multiplying the strength of both. Trading fatal hits like this, their immortality generates an absurd amount of power. And that's where it gets good. In one final energy embrace, the hypnosis controlling him shatters. Minori vows she'll get strong enough to protect her brother forever. A massive detonation of energy purifies the entire terrain around them. The sorceress watches the smoke, shocked by the girl's suicide attack. Feeling confident, the woman drops her barrier, sure that victory is hers. No one saw that coming. She celebrates, believing all that immortal blood now belongs to her. Eagerly, the villain walks toward the rubble to collect the bodies. From inside the mist, Minori's steady voice warns her that she got it all wrong. She reveals that ever since they escaped the lab, they've been training by fighting each other. The sorceress's eyes go wide in panic as she feels a terrifying magical pressure. Dosation stands up, completely free, thanking his sister for her courage. United and far more powerful, they release their flames, ready to counterattack.